Hi and welcome back. In this demo, I will show you a couple of ways of bringing height field data into the Unreal Engine. The first one will be with an HDA, and the second, we will output a height field map. In this example, I created a simple height field, and you can see the steps that I'm using. So started with the height field, added a little bit of noise, some distortion, a little bit more noise, remapped it so it's above the 0 line, and then I added a height field visualize where I changed the colors to go from yellow to this pinkish red, and finally I put a terrain out null, so if I need to grab any information from here I'll be able to do so easily. So the first step that we're going to do is create a sub-network in order to start with our HDA. So I'm going to select all of the nodes in my network, and I'm going to create on the little icon over here, create subnet from selected, or Shift-C. And it's going to create our subnet, which I will rename it to my terrain. Now, once you have this sub network, you can double click and you can go in and see the nodes that we've created earlier. You can right click on it and create a digital asset out of it. So let's do that. I'm going to click here. You can change the name to whatever you want. And just remember that by default, it's going to save it to your documents folder. That's if you're using a PC, and then into the version of Houdini that you're using, and then OTLS, which is the folder where it puts the HDAs, and finally create an HDA with the name that you are giving it over here. So once you have all this information in place, click on accept, give it a second, and then you will see operator type properties that's going to have all the information that's related to the digital asset. If you look at the top here, you're not going to see anything at the moment, but this is the option that by clicking on the parameters, we can then add additional controls and we can manipulate the nodes inward. So that's this first step of creating the HDA. In this part, we're going to bring the HDA into the Unreal Engine. So I created a default third-person scene. And the first thing that I'd like you to make sure is that if you go to Edit Plugins, just ensure that the Houdini Engine plugin is installed. Otherwise, you won't be able to run this. So go to Import, and under your Documents, Houdini, whichever version, OTLS, you should find the HDA that we created. So click on it, open it, and it should bring it into the scene. I deleted all the geometry that was here by default, so currently there's nothing except for the sky. So to bring your terrain, simply drag and drop it onto the scene. Give it a few seconds, and you'll see it show up. Since it's quite large, I'm going to just move it around bit. So here's our character, and as you can see, he's running up and down around in the terrain, and it's actually, the terrain gets imported pretty cleanly. As you can see, there's no weird stepping. That's something that might happen if you decide to bring in a height field map into Unreal and use the default Unreal landscape tool, which we're going to do in a little bit. But usually with HDAs, the terrain that is brought is pretty clean.